like a
What is it,
sharing.
what is this, what is this thing?
It's a little cable show that Evelyn Thorin runs.
Oh, okay. Yep, yep,
I want to say she does it through Lowell Telemedia.
yep.
And they air issues in Chelmsford on Thursdays and Sundays. They tape them on Thursday mornings at like 7 in the morning. And you can talk about pretty much anything you want. Oh boy.
I think we're still having some technical difficulties here.
Yeah.
I can hear it out of here.
So if there's anything you would like me to share about what the Conservation Commission does, I can do that. My intent
If we
was to
watch,
go in
can we
there and-
learn what we're supposed to do?
Maybe. We can make up anything you want.
No, you know what we
You
do,
can be
Vivian.
creative.
How long have you been administrative assistant for us?
Since 2008.
Yeah,
Wow.
so almost 15
15 years, yeah, 15
So you know
years.
you know what we
I
do.
do. But I don't know how much of that you want to share with the world.
Well, every do.
Probably not a good idea.
Our meetings are public anyhow, right?
They are. Yeah, I mean, I was gonna kind of go in there and say, talk about your land management visits to sites every month and stuff like that.
Yeah, just regulatory and land management.
Right, right,
Yeah, I mean,
Because
honestly,
they're both somewhat different.
yeah,
yeah, I just highlight some of the recent stuff we do in the minutes and things, you know?
okay.
Some of the high caps, highlights.
And
Peter.
if they're looking for detail, you could have in your back pocket the, the 8 values that conservation commissions are supposed to pay attention to: water quality, habitat, et cetera, et cetera.
You want to email that to me?
Sure.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, and we got all that cool stuff
That's
out
a
on
good
our
idea.
So the
website, too.
things that you want the public to know
Yeah.
about you, I guess.
Actually, take a look at our website, because it does have a lot of that stuff, our interest,
Okay,
regulations, all. And in the end, the reservation list, all our reservations.
right, okay. All right,
I mean, 4 of us
Good
have
view.
been on forever,
thank you.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. It was just a random thing that came up. I was on there on June 12th, and they're like, you want to come back for July 6th? I'm like, you that desperate? But
Good.
yeah, they are, so here I am.
All right,
Wow,
good.
nice.
When are you gonna be on, do you know?
They usually air it Thursday nights and Sundays.
So like next Thursday, like this Thursday?
They're not actually taping it until July 6th
Okay.
at 7 in the morning, so I would assume like probably Thursday night.
7 in the morning?
7 in the morning,
Gee, you poor kid.
as the crow flies.
Studio's that busy?
It is with them.
I guess, yeah.
Uh-oh.
Wow,
Yeah,
Then you go to church
I could.
afterwards.
that's right, that's right. All right, well, thank you, Vivian.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to our regulatory matters. The first one we have up is the request for determination of applicability. David Bernstein, 25 Purcell Drive, with Thomas Schaumburg, Civil Design Consultants, Inc., representing the applicant. And do we have a legal notice here?
Yes, we do, Mr. Chair. Pursuant to
Vice
the
Chair.
provisions of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, MGL 131, Section 40, and the Chelmsford Wetlands Bylaw, Chapter 187, the Chelmsford Conservation Commission will conduct a public hearing in Room 204 at the Chelmsford Town Offices, 50 Billerica Road, on Tuesday, June 27th, 2023, at 7 p.m. to consider the request for determination of applicability filed by property owner David Bernstein for proposed work within 100-foot buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetlands at 25 Purcell Drive, further identified as Assessor's Map 125, Block 462, Lot 44. The project entails removal of 2 trees, also incidental impacts associated with the construction of an addition to an existing single-family house. Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman. Now we'll hear from the applicant's representative, Thomas.
Yes. So Tom Schomburg of Civil Design Consultants, representing Dave Bernstein of 25 Purcell Drive for this RDA. As was mentioned, this proposal is consisting of the construction of an addition to the northeastern side of the existing building located on the parcel. Impacts within the 100-foot BVW buffer consist of the removal of 2 trees and any incidental grading associated with the construction of the addition of the building.
Quick question for you, not to interrupt your presentation, but.
Yep.
So we're losing 2 trees. Any chance of replacing those 2 trees with a couple other trees on the property?
Yeah,
Yeah, it would be. So, David Bernstein, the property owner, and
Oh, good,
so,
good.
yeah, we'd certainly be open to that.
Okay, good. Good, we try to do that with a lot of projects, try to keep,
We
you know,
strongly encourage it.
exactly, strongly encourage it.
Okay, you'll see, we're deep in the woods there, but we'd be happy to replace a tree or two.
Yeah, Mr. McLaughlin was just saying to us earlier today before we started the meeting that he was listening to some sort of scientific broadcast that the world has lost 10% of its trees, like in the last, year or something?
Here,
right?
yep.
So we're trying to do our little thing, you know, kind of one tree at a time. as best we can.
Indigenous trees still, if, you know.
Indigenous.
Native, yeah,
Native,
native.
yes, indigenous, yes.
Yeah.
Native, yeah. Oh, good, well, anyway, back to you, Tom.
But otherwise, that's more or less it, and, open to any questions from the board.
Okay, well, let's see if the commission's got some questions. We can start right down at this end here. John?
I wish I had a paper plan in front of me, but you're gonna have a dumpster, obviously.
For the construction, yeah.
Yeah, where's that gonna be on the property?
Definitely located outside the 100-foot buffer. Realistically, probably off to the side of the driveway.
Okay. And the driveway's nothing's being removed on that proposed addition. The driveway's in front of it, bituminous concrete driveway.
Yeah, so there's an existing driveway there.
Right,
It's
so
going
the
to be...
dumpster will be out of the wetlands.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'm good.
Good. All right, thanks, John. Peter?
I don't have any questions.
Oh.
Thank you.
Wow, good. Good. Okay. All right, Dave McLaughlin.
No, this is going to be a -3 as far as I'm concerned, so.
Good. Bill, anything?
I'm good, thank you.
Good? Yeah, Mark?
Good luck.
Good. Carl?
Yeah, looks,
All right, from our agent?
So I think it can be a, -3 with some standard conditions, but then also the additional condition to plant 2 trees.
Native trees, yeah.
So just native, that's, this one down here that's being taken out is a spruce, which actually may not be native.
Doesn't look like it fits.
Yeah.
Blue spruce or Norway?
And, yeah, I think it's a blue spruce, and then one that's coming out up here is a white pine. So, okay, I'll just put in replacement with 2 native species trees.
Leafy, if possible.
What's that?
Deciduous, if possible.
Deciduous. Okay.
Or if the homeowner, if
Well,
you
what makes sense in the neighborhood
yeah.
on the property?
All right, good. Any further questions, comments? Sorry.
No?
Okay, so we need a -3, that's basically an approval, -3 determination approval with the standard conditions plus that special condition with respect to the native trees. Dave, you want to make that motion?
so move.
So moved by Dave McLaughlin and seconded by Mark. So any discussion? No discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Unanimous. You're all set. Thank you, gentlemen.
Good.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Hey, thanks so much.
Yeah, good luck. Good luck with the project. Okay. And moving on to the next item we have on tonight's agenda, which is a notice of intent that it's continued again. This was an after-the-fact filing. Was last continued from June 13th, 2023. Keith Silva, 120 Gorham Street. Susan MacArthur from MacArthur Environmental Consulting, LLC, has been working with and representing the applicant with us. And David, Mr. Coons, can you just give us a quick update what's going on out there?
I spoke with Mr. Silva today. He has not done anything more to address the concerns since the last meeting. He did commit to that he would put in some hay bales today. So I will plan on visiting the site tomorrow to verify that and see if there's been any more deterioration with all the heavy rain we've had recently. Just my personal opinion is that, I'd like to see some kind of steady improvement, even if it's just incremental before the hearing is closed, rather than, have it continue to deteriorate.
Yeah, and that's my concern too, with all this heavy rain we're having and the type of erosion and these rain events that are coming in with a rapid, all the water coming down. And it's just, I hate to see, because isn't this the property where you went out and had the landscapers go out and
Yeah.
do some nice work?
And it looks great.
And it looked great.
And, it's all the rain probably, well, I saw that some additional erosion had opened up with the first heavy rain we got back there a few weeks ago, but just want to make sure that doesn't continue to deteriorate.
Exactly. And, and this has been kind of dragging on for
Yeah.
a long time here, so.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's,
Did you say that he was gonna put hay bales in after you spoke with him today?
When I spoke to him prior to the last meeting, he said I had told him at the site visit that same day that he needed to put hay bales in and begin to repair the erosion damage, and he said he would do it. But in speaking with him today, he said he hadn't done anything. But he
Do you
said
need
he
prodding to keep this going, or?
Well, yeah, I mean, he certainly should understand by now what he needs to do. I figured before the last meeting, I didn't think I would have to pester him again before tonight's meeting. I guess maybe I did.
Okay.
so you're gonna go out there, what, tomorrow, right?
Yeah,
I mean, I think you just have to keep on top of them like you've been.
yeah,
But,
yeah.
it'd be nice if we can get this thing resolved, with cooperation. He's hired an engineer, and he's gotten the landscape people out there, so he's just gotta get the necessary follow-up.
Yeah,
and get it
right,
done.
exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not rocket science at this
No.
point, but it needs to be done.
Yeah. All right, well, all right, so if we could have a motion then to continue to July 11th, Dave?
When did this start? When did we start having discussions with him? February?
Fall.
Oh,
Earlier?
yeah, I mean, this I think is close to a year now.
A year.
It's the fall.
At what point do we give him an ultimatum? And if we give him an ultimatum, what's the consequences?
That's a good question. I know that he's had some personal things going on. He's got a new baby. I'm trying to be sensitive to those kinds of concerns, but, maybe being overly sensitive, I don't know.
A year of erosion is a long time.
And he's had Marty there, right?
He has.
Marty went out there, like within the last
right.
month and did some good work, but then we had these big, but he didn't get the hay bales down, and then the big heavy rains came through and washed away a lot of that good work.
And when he tried to do the seeding, or Marty did the loaming and seeding, but that was when it was very dry, and so the grass didn't grow up right away. So then when we started getting the heavy rains, there wasn't much grass growing. So
I mean, I think the commission's been really patient on this
Agreed.
one, but I think the
Agreed.
patience of the members here is starting to run out.
and may I convey that too?
I think
Mr.
so. I
Silva?
think-
Why,
Yeah, absolutely.
why don't we give him one more period of time to fix it?
Do we,
And tell
do we
him
still have
now.
hay?
Sorry?
Can we donate hay?
Donate?
He said he was finally able to get some hay bales today.
Yeah, but
You
we
knew
have
we had
hay.
hay.
Can we donate it?
Yeah,
to
but I
a
didn't think
place?
it was any
Why
good.
not? It's yours, right?
No, it's the hay that's in the barn on Warren
Oh,
Pole.
sure, if he wants to.
Yeah, it's probably not appropriate.
No?
It's falling apart.
Might send a
It's dead.
message.
And it's-
I send a message.
Sentiment.
You give
That's
it
what
all
I'm
to
saying.
him?
Yeah, tell me he can have it all.
Does he understand what happens if he fails to do this? Do we understand what happens if he fails to do
Honestly,
this?
this might be one then where we go to our legal counsel, town legal counsel for legal action. I mean, if we can't get
What I
cooperation.
would do is warn him
Yeah.
that if something
Yes,
doesn't
yes.
happen within a certain
There's
specified
plenty of
time,
hay around
then,
right now.
we will turn it over to legal counsel.
Plenty
Doesn't
of,
make any
Yeah,
sense.
and
We're
I think he's
90%
found it-
there.
Right,
I did.
but he has to understand he's got to complete it.
Right.
I mean, I'll mention this. One possibility is that the commission could ask the building department to withhold a certificate of occupancy for the addition. But then I think that would open the commission up to accusations. Oh, you're trying to keep a new baby out of the house or something like that. So
No, I don't think I want to do that yet.
no, I don't.
No, we're not that
not that
I
meeting.
think having David go tomorrow, and let's.
Yeah, I think so.
Put
You
it one
get
more,
out there and
one
you
more
convey
try.
the thing, the commission's getting impatient.
You're gonna talk to him. He'll be
Yes,
there.
yes,
Okay, it's not like you're
absolutely.
just showing up.
Right,
and-
no, no,
okay,
I
Okay, so let's
definitely-
I think
let
that's
that
good. I
happen.
think that's good.
You still got the sill
David
fence
can
up?
carry the message.
What's that?
Still got the, like, the sock up?
Yeah, but that really hasn't
That's
done much
gone.
good. Yeah, it did
So he
really.
needs to
Strap
It
stake,
needs double staked hay bales.
and then,
We've got hay.
I got a whole field in front of my house that's perfect for that. But it's spoken for, you gotta go through Henry Parley,
You have to do what?
go through Henry.
Henry Parley.
Henry hay's my field,
Oh,
so I know there's hay, there's
okay.
out there.
Do you know the price?
I have no, I don't get involved. I don't get involved.
'Cause I know money is a concern, but.
That's
I
why I
mean,
asked
how
if
many
we could
bales is it?
donate some out of the barn.
I would say maybe 10 at most. I mean, it's
Ah,
not a
it's-
huge
If
number.
if it's $5 a bill,
Right, well, and that's what I told them.
you know, and the stakes,
Like, I thought they were 10 or 11, I thought, but,
no, not for the construction hay.
oh, okay.
All right. Well, let's have a motion then to continue with David going out tomorrow to lay the law down.
To the first July meeting, whatever
Yeah,
that is.
continue to
July
July
11.
11.
July
Maybe you can set up another meeting tomorrow prior to that, to our next meeting.
I will.
And then
Yep.
you tell them before that meeting, you want to see everything done.
And recognize we may only have one meeting in July.
Oh, I don't think we're gonna get away with that.
We can if we want to.
If we're not gonna be here,
What is the phrase? Work expands to meet the time
we'll see what our
available.
chair says.
The chair emeritus here.
I move we
I may be
continue.
down the Cape for July. whole
Mr.
month.
Chairman, I move we continue the hearing on 120 Gorham Street until July 11th.
I second that motion.
Okay, motion by Dave McLaughlin, Carl on the second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
And I will
Aye.
convey to Mr. Silva that the commission is beginning to
Unanimous.
lose patience.
Yes, very impatient.
Give him the message.
All right, good. Very good. Okay, now we have the notice of intent coming up here, Mass DOT. Continued from June 13th, 2023, Tingsboro Road from Vinyl Square to Wellman Avenue. Project Alyssa Jacobs from Epsilon Associates, Inc., representing the applicant. And I did see an email came through, what, today? Yeah, it was earlier today, right, from our engineering department.
Yeah.
With
Right,
some
the reason,
feedback.
the continuance was for two reasons. One was Peter was concerned about what damage might be done to the trees as the work was being done, and you wanted an elaboration
Yeah.
on that work plan. The other, Chris, is what you said. We asked, or Mark, I guess, asked
Yeah.
the DPW review the proposal and see what, if anything, could be, in terms of stormwater management, could be addressed in this project.
Yeah.
I think those are the two open items.
Yeah, we talked about them maybe dredging part of the trench into the field. But that's as far as it,
Yeah. So if you, David, maybe you could just kind of tell everybody, because I'm not sure everyone saw that email. I read the email. My recollection was that it was kind of a pithy comment. It didn't really say much to me, up or down. It
Right,
didn't seem
well,
like any concerns.
I
but-
think it basically said that with regard to stormwater, the project looks okay to
Yeah.
the DPW. They did mention that if it's more than 20,000 square feet of alteration, that it would need a land disturbance permit from the DPW. However, these state projects are exempt from local bylaws,
All right,
so that's not gonna happen.
all right, so, all right. So that was one issue.
So nothing's gonna be done to address potential stormwater issues in this project?
Well, we can let the
Nor does it
applicant
have
speak to that.
to be. I guess that that's.
Right, and not anything more that's being proposed.
yeah.
All right. And then what about your question? You had about the trees. Have we heard anything more about that at all?
Well, there's an arborist,
Is there a,
there's an arborist letter and
Package you sent.
and a work statement, right? On tree protection?
Yeah.
As part of the handouts? There it is.
All right, let's take a look at that then.
I guess it describes how they address work being done around trees that remain in place.
And my understanding is that this is the preferred method
That's the way, that's the way it reads, yeah.
Using air excavation.
Right. I mean, that's kind of the key. One of the key things is that air spade rather than digging up the roots.
Well, how does that work?
It's just like
Pressurized
compressed
air that
yeah.
blows the
Yeah.
dirt
Yeah.
away, is that
Yeah.
what it does?
That's kind of cool to see. I would like to see that sometime.
Yeah, there was a discussion on with DPW and the tree committee about using that on the Beaver Brook project that hasn't come before us yet to try to save the trees.
Yeah.
So it's,
Well, maybe we could use some of this language in a future condition that we might want to use on other projects, you know?
Well, I can certainly put this in as an exhibit,
Yeah,
you know, in
Tree
the order
protection,
of
yeah.
conditions.
David, what I don't recall is, I mean, the other big thing we're trying to do on trees, right, is to protect the root zone
Mhm.
from staging equipment and driving equipment over it. And the root zone is, well, you need a tree expert. It's roughly the crown of the tree, maybe a little bit less. And I don't recall if this spec said anything about that. I know it talked about 2x4s or whatever around the trunk, but, you know, the issue is driving heavy equipment over the roots compresses the soil and then the trees die.
The way I was thinking of handling this is to put in the order of conditions the requirement for a pre-construction meeting, which actually is pretty standard, but then we could have, you know, members of the tree committee at that meeting.
That's a good idea.
To work very closely with a contractor, you know, to make sure that the trees are protected during construction. You know,
And somebody from the state, assuming.
yes, and the arborist from the state will be there as well.
Yes, that would
So,
be,
but
I think that would be the right thing for the town to do.
yes, yeah. So there'll be someone.
Good idea.
There'll be experts, arborists on both sides there working together
Right.
to hopefully make sure that the
Right.
interests of the trees are protected.
I mean, the sidewalks are always tricky because the trees are in the wrong place.
Yeah.
I mean, I do want to make that comment. I mean, the tree committee's logic or philosophy is that, you know, sometimes trees are in the wrong place. I mean, you can't
Right.
save everything, but you can try.
You
to
can, you
do your
can
best.
try, you can make an honest effort. And
Yep, exactly.
hopefully that will work out.
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you.
all right, well, this is a public hearing. Do we have any more, I mean, I don't see anybody out, I don't see anyone out in the audit. Are they out there in the TV audience at all, or Zooming?
Here in Newland, yes, Alyssa Jacobs with Epsilon Associates with
Oh,
Courtney
good.
Walker from
Good.
Mass DOT.
Good, excellent, good. What information can you share with us at this point?
Just a brief follow-up on what you were just discussing. The arborist specification does include a requirement for a site walk between the contractor, the town engineer, the town tree warden, and, you know, whoever else may wish to attend to review the trees to be removed, the limits of construction, etc. And they would also provide any modifications to the tree protection measures that were originally proposed. So that is included, you know, with what the typical tasks are for the arborist.
Okay, well, thanks, Alyssa. Thank you. Anybody, again, public hearing? Anybody from the public wants to make a statement, has a question on this one? Now's the time to ask to be recognized. I think we're pretty close to the point where we could close this hearing now, you know? Sidewalk project, I mean, it's a good project. I think we examined the issues, got the information we needed. Do we have a motion then to close the public hearing?
So move.
A motion by Mr. McLaughlin to close the hearing. John on the second, on the motion to close the hearing. Any discussion before we close the hearing? David, you think we're comfortable, right, closing at this
Yes,
point?
yeah.
Good, okay. All those in favor of closing the hearing?
Aye.
Aye, any opposed? None unanimous. Okay, so we closed the hearing.
I think this is a standard order of conditions. I haven't heard any special orders.
Well, with the pre-construction meeting, which is basically standard, but I might add a few tweaks to that. I think it's going to need to involve, yes, the DPW as well as members of.
So do you
the
want a
tree-
special condition that a pre-construction
Yeah.
meeting be held between DOT, Chelmsford DPW, and the conservation agent?
and members of the tree committee.
Members as,
And I think it really should be, I think, at DPW.
not on the site?
Well, I think we can have a site meeting as well, but I think it's important to have sort of an off-site meeting to really nail down the details. You know, sometimes when you're out on site, especially a site like this, you know, it's.
Well, why doesn't the special condition say the meeting as organized by the conservation agent?
Okay, that sounds good.
That's reasonable.
Yeah, good.
So move, we issue a standard order of conditions for this project,
Mass DOT Tingsboro Road from
right.
Vinyl to Wellman.
with a special order that there be a pre-construction meeting held at the direction of the conservation agent of the interested parties.
Thanks, Dave. Good, seconded by Carl.
Second, yeah.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Unanimous. We're all set, Alyssa. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your time.
And thank you so much,
Thank you.
everyone, for the good luck with the project. Looking for an
Thank you.
excellent result. All right, we've got, moving on to continual business. We have updates from our agent with respect to 0 Littleton Road, 221 Littleton Road, 35 Brick Hill Road, as well as 201/203 Boston Road.
All the usual suspects.
Yeah. David, can you give us some updates?
Well,
on
I'm
what's
afraid there's
happening?
not much to report.
I think you did say we heard back from town council on one of the matters, wasn't it?
Well, right, so I emailed him the day after the last meeting.
Who's him?
Town
Council?
council.
Okay. And this
So-
is regarding 0 Littleton Road?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. So, I CC'd Chris and Carl, so I explained to him the situation, asked him to get in touch with the owner's attorney. So, didn't hear anything. So yesterday I sent council an email asking him if he'd been able to make contact with the owner's attorney yet. So
Which one is 0?
that's where the oil trucks are being stored.
Okay, yep.
So then heard back from council today that he has reached out to the attorney now. I don't know if that means he's reached out today.
Because you reminded him.
Which is entirely possible.
It is entirely possible.
So, so that's where that stands.
Can we take the trucks, physically remove them from the site?
Probably would need a court order to do that.
Yeah, that's.
Probably would need a court order.
Why don't we suggest it? Don't do it, but suggest it, we'll do it.
Well, I mean, if another month goes by and nothing's happened.
It's.
I forgot to mention in my
So we
email.
haven't we don't know, no one's spoken to the owner yet, is that correct?
Not to the owner, no, I have had 2 or 3 phone conversations with their
Wonderful.
attorney. So, you know, it could be the owner who's stalling things, could be the attorney. I forgot to mention that in my email to council, I said that the commission, to please inform the owner's attorney that the commission would like an RDA to be filed approving storage
Yeah.
of the
I mean,
trucks.
back to Dave's comment, I mean, it probably would be, as part of your follow-up with our town council, you might want to ask them, like, hey, what are our options? And in fact, do we have an option of, if we don't get, you know, any type of response, do we have an option to just take action and remove these vehicles that present perhaps an imminent hazard to the environment?
Yeah, because we don't know.
I don't know.
That's the dilemma, we
Yeah.
don't know.
Well, I mean, the commission can certainly take legal action, can certainly go to Superior Court, and that's where it would be decided, you know. Hopefully the.
I think the fact that we can't speak to the owners tells you something.
Dave, how many trucks are there?
3.
3.
I think I've counted as many as 4
Yeah, I
for
thought I saw
oil
4.
trucks, but then there are these smaller trucks as well. that
I've
surface-
seen 3 oil trucks.
I
You
don't know
seen
what they're
4?
called.
I've
Maintenance
seen 3
service.
oil.
Are they all registered?
Yeah.
All registered?
So there's been maybe up to half a dozen total vehicles.
Is there a name on the trucks?
Yeah, it's, what's the name? There is a name on the trucks.
Is it Allied?
Could be,
That's
something
it.
like, I think it starts with A, you're right.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
they're in
something
the
very
Littleton
generic.
phone book.
Yeah, yeah.
Acme.
Oh, it's a Littleton business.
Acme? I don't know, whatever, I looked it up.
Wile E. Coyote drives them.
Yeah, I think they were originally
It's
parked
allied.
at Littleton Center,
All right,
out in front of the lumber company.
so that's 0. 0 Littleton. How about 221 Littleton Road? Down the road.
Oh, I'm sorry, no, I'm sorry, that was just 221. 0 is down the road.
Yeah,
Okay,
I
so
was gonna say, I
that's
think we flipped
221.
Yeah,
that.
that's what,
So,
Okay.
I haven't heard anything more on either 0 Littleton Road or 35 Brick
So
Hill
0
Road.
Littleton Road, that's the one with the trailer that was
Yeah,
supposed to be
it's the-
removed.
they
Right.
removed
It's
it,
the,
right?
the box, the container, the container on the edge of
Yeah.
Beaver Brook.
So he has moved that out of the 25-foot no disturb. Now, someone told me recently, I forget who it was in the past couple of days, that there are surveyors' ribbons out there. So maybe that's a good sign that the
I
surveyor
wouldn't think so.
has finally gotten out and is surveying the wetland flags. So I think on this one and on 35 Brick Hill Road, it's going to be a matter of me just continuing to pester them. I was just so tied up last week that I didn't have a chance, and plus last week was a short week with the holiday. I just wasn't able to pester them, but I'll certainly,
Put your pester hat on.
yeah.
On 221 Littleton Road, have you spoken to their attorney at all?
Yes.
Who was
Yeah.
their attorney?
Cheryl Gould.
Okay.
And I thought she had committed to attending one of the meetings, but, especially the last meeting, but when I called her to confirm prior to the last meeting, totally unresponsive. So, again, I don't know if her client told
When you
her to-
talk to town council, you talk to Mr. Haverty directly or one of his associates?
I speak to Attorney.
Do you know who
Haverty.
he assigns it to? I doubt that he handles it.
Well,
Maybe
in his email today, he indicated that he
Okay.
he himself tried to contact
Okay.
Attorney Gould. So,
All right.
and then on 201, 203 Boston Road, I've been expecting a notice of intent filing. Speaking, the last time I had spoken to Chelmsford Lumber's engineer, which was at the beginning of the month, said that I could expect it toward the end of this month, but haven't received anything yet, so.
You know, it's so difficult, it's so hard to keep momentum going on any one item. It's so easy
I think it's important to make an example someplace, so people don't think that, this could take 3 more months. I don't care.
I second that idea. I've been thinking the same thing.
I mean, this is another one. This is dragged on and on.
It's not a big deal. It should be resolved fairly
We're just
quickly.
waiting for an RDA, right?
Right.
On which one?
Chelmsford
Boston
Lumber.
Road.
Boston
No,
Road.
that's a notice of intent.
Oh, it is a
That's a
notice
notice
of
of intent. So, I mean, I know the folks at
But that one
GPR
is probably more straightforward than the oil trucks and the other one.
Right.
Yeah.
So I know the folks at GPR quite well. So if they say they're going to get me a notice of intent, I trust that they will. So, but I'll email.
I mean, I think it's the same thing. The commission's getting impatient, it's just
Yeah.
taking much longer than we had ever thought it would. Yeah,
Okay. I will
all right,
add that to my pester list.
all right. And then how about Brick Kiln Road? That's when we had, back last month, we had a lot of folks out there in the audience then. They were-
So that was a situation again where I had been told the permission to visit the property had been rescinded. So now that things seem to be calming down a little bit with the neighbors, I think I will be granted again permission to go out there. So I just need to get back in touch with them.
Okay.
Dave, we had the idea at that hearing of the town pulling together a meeting of different town departments because it cut across more than just conservation. Do you know if that happened?
That did happen. And I know that the both, and I was at that meeting fire prevention was there, well, the fire chief was there, zoning inspector, board of health. So I think there was a minor zoning issue that the building inspector, I think, has resolved with the owners. I'll go back and double check with him on that. So hopefully now that has been resolved, they can now get back to focusing on the wetlands issues. So, based on that assumption,
No new complaints by the neighbors, though.
no new complaints, not that I'm aware of any.
All right. I will keep track of that one, too. All right, so moving on then to land management. Land management. Carl, any updates?
I don't have anything to update. We're still waiting to hear back from the land trust and their lawyer and our lawyer to say, but I think everything's still a go, just.
Yeah, we have a draft of the CR for Warren Pole,
Yeah.
which we are prepared to show to the Conservation Commission for its approval, and then to go to the town manager and the Board of Selectmen. There are two small open issues that we need to hear back from the Conservation, the Chelmsford Conservation, the Conservation
Trust.
Land Trust. And I don't think we should show it to you guys or the board until those two issues are resolved, just in case.
Right.
In case it opens it's not likely to. I think it may be semantics or wording or something, but everything else, and I think the two easements are ready now, finally?
Almost.
Yep.
Almost.
Well, I don't know, and I don't know that you guys need to see the language of the easement, although if you want to see it, we will show it to you. And nor do I know, Paul probably has signed off on the easement anyhow, or will have at some point.
At some point you will. We still need to know the precise boundary of the Parker Road easement, but I think the surveyor just has to make one more visit on that. But the CR also still has to go to the state.
Oh, yeah. No,
There.
all right.
Yeah,
I'm just saying,
Before it
we
goes
need,
to the state.
we need our approval to submit it to the Board of Selectmen for their approval, then it goes to the state. And what we heard, it could be as many as 5 years before we hear back from the state.
Wow.
I know I'd always heard that it was years. It's not like months, it's years.
We'll see.
Hopefully not quite that long.
Yeah.
All right, well, good. Well, good update then on that. And then how about this River Neck Road parking lot thing? Is that something we need?
So that's just what we talked about at the last meeting, where this parcel of land that the Conservation Commission is responsible for, 9 acres, is that? I'm
Does
forgetting.
anyone want me to bring that up?
9 1/4.
9 and
You
a
might as
quarter,
well if
and
you
the
can reach
land
it.
trust just came into owning a quarter of an acre right
It
next to it.
fronts on River Neck Road and it sides on
Yeah,
Canal
yeah,
Street.
Yeah, the
right?
Burbank.
Right, good. And we were talking about maybe just collaborating with them.
And it's
And
right
so
next
they're-
to a water department's pumping station, or sewer
Yeah,
department. Sewer
yeah.
department.
That is on our property, yeah.
Yep.
So their request was, they're putting in a garden and a park, and their request was, can they put more parking spaces on our property?
Right.
Which if you go there and look at it, at least in my view, my opinion, it's like, yeah, that's no problem at all. So
Yep.
they would put them in, it wouldn't be any cost to us.
No cost to us. Okay.
And in the meantime, Phil and I have been trading emails. We haven't done it yet, but we were going to go walk this and try to see if we could come up with a possible trail somewhere in there, so that it would actually be a nice combined land
It's not
trust,
too wet.
garden,
It's not too
and
wet.
conservation. Well, it might be, but the wetland is more towards the canal
Yeah.
road. And if there's just you can see there's an upland
Yeah,
there.
if there's a trail, it would just go straight in and
It wouldn't be
then
much.
and then
Yeah,
back.
It wouldn't be
It's-
much, but, it's
Okay.
it's a nice piece of land, maybe we could do something. But it would be, to me, it would be a really nice, like, combined land trust and conservation commission property.
Yeah, we haven't
And
done-
in that part of town, there isn't much.
And we haven't done anything jointly.
No, we haven't.
That'd be a good reason.
What kind of parking is it, stone dust or?
Yeah, I mean, if you drive by there and
I did.
look, there's already gravel. If,
Yeah,
I
okay.
think it's maybe grade it and put some bumpers, done. That's probably what they're talking about.
Right.
All right. So maybe just a vote then, and again, the vote just says, kind of simple parking lot, three or four spaces.
So are there any
no cost to
parking on
us.
their on their parcel?
Yeah.
So how
it's-
many
it's-
spaces in total?
I think I heard 6 spaces, of which we'd have 3 or 4, and they
Okay.
would have the remainder. It's more on our property than theirs, because they have such a small But it's all the frontage, it's combined frontage of the two.
So what are these structures that are shown?
So, that house is gone.
That house was
Yeah.
torn down,
The
right?
two in the back, at least one of them is still there. I don't remember
The
if
shed?
the other one is.
The shed?
They're a shed, and it's still there. There is a shed there, and the shed is, they're using it as like a tool shed. And then on our property, which you can see, there's two buildings there. That's the one in the front that you had earlier. That's the sewer.
Oh, okay.
Pumping
That's the
station.
pump station.
But the other two are gone, and those were actually infringements, encroachments on our property.
Oh.
And who knows when they happened, but they're long gone.
Yeah, because only what, it was about a quarter of an acre they got?
Yeah, whoever, Mr. Burbank, I wouldn't even necessarily say it was him. He might have bought the
And
property with
is it
those
gonna be,
there. I don't know, but they're gone.
do we need to come up with a name, or is there a name for the combined properties?
We can come up with something. I think Phil's suggestion was something like Burbank Garden and Chelmsford Conservation,
That's too long.
something, yeah.
Cool.
But we'll figure out something.
Well, let's have a motion then to approve and indicate our support of the creation of 3 to 4 parking spaces on the River Neck parcel, again, at no cost to Concom.
So move.
Moved by Dave McLaughlin, seconded by Mark. Any discussion before we vote? All right, all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, unanimous.
While we're
Thank
still on land is there any, are we aware of any possibility of there being forest fires on any of our reservations with I know it's been raining this spring, but it's still pretty dry. Now, in the years that I've been on conservation, I think I've only seen 2. One at Russell, one at Thanksgiving Forest,
The one at the bog.
and one at, yeah. Those are the only 2, and we've been very, very lucky, but I think we ought to keep our eyes open and maybe on our webpage just remind people that it will be forest fire season.
Yeah, if they see something, say something. I mean, they gotta report as quick as possible.
Okay,
No burning. Not allowed to
Yeah,
burn.
we don't
anything.
allow burning anyway.
Yeah.
But stuff happens, so.
okay, we did have a we did have a meeting of the
Oh, yeah, Dave, up there now.
Cranberry
Yeah.
Bog Subcommittee, which is Carlisle and Chelmsford. This was, Carlisle hosted it. The primary purpose of it was for them to tell us what Carlisle is doing and to ask us a few questions about what we were doing. Carlisle has decided to turn the Cranberry Farm, I guess that's the right term, into what they call a wet bog, which means they're just gonna keep 2 things. They're gonna keep all of the stuff cut back. They're not gonna,
Is it a wet meadow?
wet meadow, yes,
I
yes,
think a meadow, yeah.
wet meadow, that's a better term, correct term. Haven't seen any plans for it yet. They're gonna get money from their town meeting to do it. The other project is that the dam that has broken at the head of that wet meadow area has to be rebuilt. The dam, this is when you go in, when you walk into our Cranberry Bog and you're going towards Carlisle, it's a dam on their property on the far left. And it's a registered dam in the state of Massachusetts, and the state's requiring them to fix it. So they did not tell us what it was gonna cost. They said they're gonna hope to be able to do it in August, when it's as dry as possible. They will not stop the flow, so there'll still be a flow coming from Hart Pond through our
Yeah.
section. It won't be major flow. And I don't know, they didn't give us a price tag on that one. That one's I think their CPC money's doing. They're looking at some pretty big bucks between the dam and the wet meadow. I asked the Carlisle conservation agent after the meeting if they were turning the Cranberry Farm into a wet meadow, why did they need the dam at all?
Good question.
And the response was, they want the vista.
Yeah.
So they're willing to shell out probably 300 or more
For the Vista.
for the Vista. We told them that we were perfectly, they did complain a bit about downstream being dry during drought seasons, and why couldn't Chelmsford let some water into Carlisle, which we avoided answering the question, I think. Did tell them that the way we manage Hart Pond now seems to work, and there's no reason to change any of that at the present time. There was one individual at Carlisle who wanted a joint project between the two towns to locate measuring points along, what's the name of the stream?
I think it's River Meadow Brook.
Is it River? Yes, it is.
Yeah.
To measure water points along River Meadow from Hart Pond, I guess, to Mill Pond, to measure how much water at what times of the year flow past all of those points. The purpose of which, he said, was to better manage the stream, which I'm not sure needs to be managed, but, well, we'll let that just, Chelmsford did not agree to the project. So I don't know what, be interesting to see what
It was
comes
more,
back in the minute.
I didn't see it as being a formal proposal.
No, and it wasn't a member of the committee, I think it was a resident.
Just a suggestion, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was a resident, one of the residents is in a butter to River Meadow, and has had some flooding issues. We set another meeting for 6 months from now. So, now, we haven't done much of anything out at the Cranberry Bog, because I don't think we saw a need, we didn't have priorities high on our list. And I can't, other than keeping the dam now cut of trees,
Right.
and we will kind of do a report once a year, so there's one on file in the fall, for the fall, as to, and we do have some work still to be done on the dam. So, that's what we told them.
Dave, I have a comment. I have a comment, just something to think about. I know the larger dams have quite a serious biological survey to answer some of those questions, Dave, that you're referring to. The resident was asking, maintaining adequate water flow, for all the stream functions that we protect. I have no experience or knowledge whether that kind of study is done on little streams and little dams, but it is on some of the big dams. So that might be where this fellow was.
I think his
coming
real
from.
concern is, he has had, I think, if it's the gentleman, I think it is, he's had some flooding issues in his property.
So he was more concerned about too much water.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what triggered the discussion. Okay, that's all I had.
So thanks, Dave. Thanks for the update on that. All right, so that takes us through a land management report, and then we are looking for approval signature. Is there anything, Dave, we need to do, sign for the well exploration?
Yeah, I just want to update the commission on that. So I've actually revised the draft so far, primarily because
There we go.
you saw the email from Andy Reid that I forwarded to the commission. Looks like maybe they want to expand the scope a little bit more. So we had talked about at the last meeting where the commission gave preliminary approval to this, is that the commission's approval would have to be contingent upon verifying that the work is exempt from state and town wetland laws, bylaws, regulations.
Yeah.
So I didn't put that in my original revisions, or my initial revisions to the Water District's initial draft, because at first we were talking, it was so simple. It was just bringing in some test rates.
Just some testing, yeah, just some testing.
But now with kind of the expanded scope, I think this really does need to explicitly go into the agreement. So if you look at the sort of the first blue sentence, the commission's approval is contingent upon the conservation agent's verification. The scope of work is exempt from state and town wetland laws, bylaws, regulations pursuant to a detailed written work description provided by the district, which I have not received yet. So I think that really does explicitly need to be in here.
What was the timing that they were going to start this? Did we have an idea? I'm trying to remember.
It was ASAP, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, I think they do want to get started pretty quickly. I don't know that they're under a real urgent deadline.
It would
You
help
know-
some with planning. So I like that sentence. I think that's good.
You like what?
This sentence,
Oh,
that the approval is contingent upon the conservation agent's verification that the scope of work is indeed exempt from state and town.
I had a discussion this morning with Mark Gibbs. I do not recall that they told us that they were gonna have 12 test wells. Mark says he does. Do you guys remember the quantity? Because 12 seems like a lot. And if they did discuss it before here and I just didn't hear it, shame on me. But I'm concerned, if you're gonna have 12, I'm also concerned where the location is, because that is a sensitive area. You know, we've had significant problems with National Grid. And I'm a little more concerned about what damage might be done than the fact that they're doing it. The idea of having test wells makes sense. Did they mention 12 wells?
Yeah, I remember
I
12.
think I remember something like that.
Yeah.
I think I remember,
As many as
Right,
12.
right.
but what about this expansion
One
that they
didn't
came
work.
in with now?
Bump it up.
Well,
What's the
now,
expansion happen?
now they, my understanding is, when Andy was here at last meeting, and maybe I misunderstood it, is that the initial proposal was just to do testing, and that,
Exactly.
and that the test results would be observed and recorded at that time.
Exactly.
But now what I think they're saying is they actually now want to do monitoring wells, where they will go back and test from time to time. So that's.
For some period of time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I.
Could be years.
Yep, so that's.
That concerns me, because that's a big difference than just
Yes.
going out doing some preliminary testing.
Yeah, and
Right.
what my thought was, I don't have a good feel for how often they're going to need to go to the observation well and
Right.
take water level measurements. And I know, I think it was the AECom consultant made a point that they don't feel they need to cut trees to get access, but now that they're called observation wells, and I'm not sure what the difference is between test or observation, but I'm just picturing a bunch of trails get created in the refuge that we already have a problem with motorized vehicles tearing up trails. So I was just trying to get my head around, is this gonna end up being basically a network of new trails? And then, of course, the consultant or the people doing the sampling, fair enough, might want to use a motorized vehicle, depending on how much sampling they're doing, or, what, I don't know if they lug the equipment in a backpack or if they need a motorized vehicle, but I started picturing over a couple of years, the possibility that it would end up with a network of motorbike trails, which
Well,
is probably
certainly,
not what we want, right?
certainly if for some reason it's gonna last 10 years, for example. I mean, as opposed to maybe 6 months.
Yeah.
Now, this document you sent us, this is not the addition that they're asking for, is that correct? This document you sent us is what we voted on last meeting?
Well, yes, although the.
Where's the language that's new?
This,
It's up on the screen.
right.
No, I know, I have it here.
But the latest Andy Reid request.
The
that's
thing
not
you sent,
reflected,
the
right?
thing you sent me from Andy Reid, is that what we're talking about?
The email?
Yeah, the Italian, you said,
Oh, yes. So what I sent you was the agreement without this first.
that's what I'm talking
sentence in
about.
it.
So what's the specific language of the addition?
It's right here. It
Yeah,
says
can you
first-
read, I can't see, can you
Okay.
read it? I'm sorry.
The commission's approval is contingent upon the conservation agent's verification that the scope of work is exempt from state and town wetland laws, bylaws, regulations pursuant to a detailed written work description provided by the district. Now I'm thinking that maybe we even need some kind of a plan.
Well,
plan
that's what I'm getting
showing-
at. I want to know what they're going to do and how long they're
Yeah.
going to, and how long,
And how
if they're
long?
going to monitor it,
Yeah.
I want to know what the monitoring process is and how long is it going to last?
What does it look like?
Well, and see, and I could be wrong, I'll double check on this, but my experience in the past is that once monitoring wells go in, they stay in forever. that, you know.
Certainly the wells that we've seen on our property from contamination, like there's a couple of wells at the back end of,
Yeah.
Well, maybe that's what
the
they're
one,
gonna
but
monitor.
what's the reservation next to you, Vivian?
Red Wing.
There were monitoring wells at the back corner of Red Wing from
They're still
frequency sources. That's 30 years ago. They're still
There
there.
was one in my
I don't
yard,
think
but
they're
they
active.
took
I think
that
they,
out.
they're kind of.
You know, I'll verify that with Andy, but I think they stay in forever. I don't
Yeah.
think
Well, there's no
they get
reason
removed.
for them not to, I
Right.
wouldn't think, because they might want to use them in the future.
Right, but again, that's what we'd like to find out. A lot of these monitoring wells, somebody walks through the woods once a year
Yeah.
with a sounding tape or whatever the device is and measures the water level, or twice a year, and if that's what we're talking about, that's very different than some of the other water
Right, you're
district
not giving us
monitoring wells that have
enough
roads.
information. They gotta be more specific.
Yeah, we need a
than
plan, we need a plan, like, where it
They're
is.
only 2-inch
how long.
wells, so they're not,
Yeah,
Do they give us a general idea of where these 12 sites are
Well,
going to be?
very general. You recall.
Yeah, out by Orleans?
Well, they, I can bring it up again quickly.
God, he's good at that.
So, can you see, I don't know what, well, the cursor disappeared, but you can see the little hand there. It was roughly along the line.
Along the
a rough
property
straight
line, right?
No,
No, it's parallel to it,
yeah, from a line from this
midway
point
between that and the
to
river.
this point. That they were roughly proposed to go between there and there. But I will bring up, I mean, I think that's still pretty much all in the commission's jurisdiction. So you can see, I mean, this is showing everything, but this blue is the, well, the blue is the riverfront area. So this, there may be able to find a line between the buffer zone. That may be a little bit too restrictive for them, but the other thing we have to remember about this is that this is all priority habitat, you know, rare species habitat, which
Exactly.
that alone might take away any potential exemption that they might have.
Yeah.
So these are questions that need to be answered, and certainly I think that Natural Heritage is going to ask for a lot of detailed information.
So how does that process start, David? Do we go to, or does the water department go to Natural Heritage?
I think, I mean, either or both. I think it probably makes sense. I would prefer to do it, you know, keeping the water district in the loop.
Yeah.
I would prefer to contact Natural Heritage
Yeah.
on that
Yes.
question. But yeah, we need a written work description along with a plan, because that's what Natural Heritage is going to want.
And does anybody have a good understanding of the well diameter? Mark, you or Bill
2 inch.
just said 2-inch,
that's what they propose.
but this document says 6-inch for the well cap. Now, I don't know, maybe they're sinking a 6-inch pipe and putting a 2-inch in top of it.
No, I didn't hear that.
Well, that's what this says. Doesn't say, it says,
That would be the final well when they're gonna draw off it for,
says the district agrees to repair and restore the land to the original condition except the 6-inch well caps
I don't know
will
what that
remain. So
means.
is that a 6-inch cap on a 2-inch well?
It could be,
It's a casing,
yeah,
the
right.
That's
top on
probably
it,
what
they
it is,
lock
right?
it,
Yeah.
they come out, unlock it, record what's
That could
there.
be-
Yeah, I understand that, but
No.
I've seen those kinds of wells where it's just a steel pipe.
Yeah,
Well, I think
Not
that's what it
with
is.
a-
I think where we are is, in
So we need
order
to
for us to entertain their additional request, we need a more comprehensive plan as to the location of the test wells, what they, and how they intend to get into them and drill them, what they intend to use them for. Are they gonna be all done at once, or is it one every 6 months? I don't know how it works.
I think they're just gonna go in there with a machine and walk the machine from,
You're probably right, John,
50
but I
feet,
want them to tell us.
drive another well, walk it another 50, 100. and
Yeah, I
walk
think
to-
you're
to
right.
a
I don't
town.
think they can give us location of
can't-
every well. So we
Exactly.
get out there and find out where the, one well here might,
But they're not
They
just
can do an
gonna go out
envelope.
there at random and put a hole in the ground. They must have an idea.
right.
Right, now, and
It can
that's
be an
probably what
envelope. They can-
David showed us.
Right, they can certainly give us a plan showing a line drawn between 2 points.
And
Exactly. Yeah.
then we need to understand, how long are these monitoring wells gonna be operational? And what does it mean to monitor an operating well? What does it
So
mean?
I'm hearing both test wells and monitoring wells.
That-
so
Yeah, the
test
new,
wells.
well, the test wells is what we talked about last time.
Right, and the
The
new thing is
monitoring
the
well is the
monitoring.
new thing that
Right.
David's come up with.
Right,
I don't mean he came up
I
with it.
think, I think now they're synonymous, except that I think
Yeah.
maybe the observation or monitoring wells is probably the more accurate term. Again, and maybe I misunderstood it, that I thought last time, these test wells, they would just take a rig out there and drill a hole and then do testing. Now, this is actually, installing a casing
Well,
as a, right.
If it's gonna go over time, you
It's-
don't,
Yeah, it seemed to me, I thought it was like a
It's a casing,
temporary
but it's
testing
not.
Yeah, I thought it was
situation.
temporary testing.
Temporary testing, they're gonna go see what the capacity was, whether there's something they wanted to explore further. This is taking on a whole new
I think it,
aspect.
I think we need to have them come back, provide more detail and come back.
maybe if they have the representative from Maya explain, because it's a pretty much cut and dried situation.
Yeah, and if we could understand better whether it's exempt or not exempt, that'd be helpful too. Because I'm not sure it's exempt, especially
It
now
may
that
not,
they're-
it may not be, especially
and we
with-
should start the process with natural heritage anyhow,
Yeah.
right?
Well, I have asked a couple times for the work description. Now, again, it looks like it's changing, so I'll invite Andy to come back.
Do we
to-
want to reconsider the vote we took at the last meeting?
No, we need
No,
water.
leave it in place until we
We-
know what's
we-
going on.
Yeah.
We gotta work with the water departments,
I'm not saying we're not working with them.
you know.
No, but just leave it in place. I think leaving it in place until we,
Well, I
There's
mean.
a lot bigger
we-
fish to fry in that
We
area,
gotta, we can't, it doesn't go forward without
okay?
finding out whether it's exempt or not.
Yeah,
So-
so that's our leverage.
That's our leverage.
So
Yeah.
it's at least a process issue at this point.
Yeah,
Just follow that.
yeah. And we'll find out, obviously, depending on what we find out, we might end up reconsidering our vote. Yeah.
So do we want a motion?
I don't know if we need a motion.
Okay, then let's move on.
I think we're good. Yeah, I mean, David, I think you got enough direction, right?
Yeah, so, so the commission isn't going to sign the agreement as drafted, so I'll get back to Andy.
We
Yeah,
want
okay.
more detail.
Yep.
We want to see plan.
Yeah,
We want clarification on monitoring versus test wells.
and I'll invite him to the next meeting.
Next meeting.
And the frequency of sampling, I mean, is it just water level measurements 3 times a year with a fellow on a backpack, or is this some other monitoring program?
But all of that information doesn't necessarily speak to whether the impacts are
Right.
sufficiently large and sufficiently small to, know the process.
Yeah. Exactly.
Right.
Good. All right, so that's Chelmsford Water District well exploration issue discussion. Do we have any minutes, Vivian? We don't have that. Okay, good. So that takes us through the agenda. We talked last meeting about reorganizing for the coming fiscal year, so I think we can still do that tonight, So my term as chairman would end at the end of the month here, June 30th, and then we'd have a new chair for next year, the coming year. And if Carl is willing, I think Carl would make a great chairman for us. So Carl, are you willing to step up if you were nominated?
Sure.
We appreciate that. All right, so if somebody can nominate Carl to be our chairman for next year.
I nominate Carl Bischoff
As
as chair.
second.
Good, so Bill on the motion and then Peter on the second. Very good. Just before we vote, I appreciate the support everybody's given me over the last 2 years as chair. and it's been very good. We've had some excellent meetings, and we've had the benefit of having our experienced conservation agent make a number of positive developments throughout the past 2 years, so I appreciate that all. So thanks, everybody, for the support that everybody brings, meeting after meeting. Vivian, your help is always appreciated. So anyway, so all those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous. So, thank you, Carl. So it'll be effective July 1st. In the interim, I will be the official lame duck chairman.
So who is vice chair clerk?
We have to have a vote on that. So do we have a nomination for our vice chair clerk?
I nominate Chris Garahand.
Okay, I'd be willing to serve if you guys nominate me.
Second?
Let me think about it.
He said, think about that, Dave, yeah. We have a lot of talent surrounding me here on this commission.
I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, I'm fine with it, so.
Well, that's your punishment for doing a good job.
I'm fine, and then, but you still have to keep up your almost perfect attendance though, Carl, you know?
I already know I'm going to miss some in October.
There you go, yeah. I was pretty good. I think I missed maybe 1 or 2 meetings. I wasn't too bad. I came in I had that one time I had COVID like a year and a half. That was brutal.
And we were exposed to that?
I had COVID bad.
So he didn't come in.
Oh, you didn't come in?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you brought it in.
Actually, a couple
Okay.
meetings, I
Good.
think.
I think I was down for 2 meetings. I mean, I went down hard. It was like
Yeah.
kind of early on when,
We were coming back here, and
yeah.
it was.
It was brutal, and I had to kind of I couldn't read and stuff for like a month. I couldn't read stuff on a piece of paper. It was pretty ugly. But anyway, yeah, I remember saying Dave was sitting next to me. I'm like, Dave, need help tonight to get through this agenda because I can't even look at this thing. My head was splitting. All right, so I just heard Dave nominated me. I think Billy for a second, the vice chair, clerk roll. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous. Okay, good. So the changes will be effective July 1st. And then in the interim, we'll have like our interim planning session with Carl. Should be smooth transition. Well, very good. So that's it for the agenda. So do we have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
All right, Dave on the motion, Mark on the second. All those in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Unanimous. Well, thank you, everyone. Have a good evening. Good night.
So what was the vote that was taken?